Behavioral Neuroscience, Chapter 8, Segment 1. A sensory receptor organ is an organ such as the eye or ear specialized to receive particular stimuli. A stimulus is a physical event that triggers a sensory response. A receptor cell is a specialized cell that responds to a particular energy or substance in the internal or external environment and converts this energy into a change in the electrical potential across its membrane. Receptor organs are diverse across the animal kingdom. An adequate stimulus is the type of stimulus for which a given sensory organ is particularly adapted. Some animals can detect stimuli that humans cannot. For example, bats have a larger range of hearing, and birds of bees can see in the ultraviolet range of light. Johannes Müller proposed the doctrine of specific nerve energies. The doctrine that the receptors and neural channels for the different senses are independent and operate in their own special ways, and can produce only one particular sensation each. We know today that messages for the senses all use the same type of energy, action potentials, but each modality sends its action potentials along separate nerve tracks. This is the concept of labeled lines, the concept that each nerve input to the brain reports only a particular type of information. Sensory transduction is the process in which a receptor cell converts the energy in a stimulus into a change in the electrical potential across its membrane. Receptor cells are transducers. Some receptor cells have axons to transmit information, and others have no axons of their own, but stimulate associated nerve endings, either mechanically or chemically. A receptor potential, also called generator potential, is a local change in the resting potential of a receptor cell that mediates between the impact of stimuli and the initiation of action potentials. The Pacinian corpuscle, also called lamellated corpuscle, is a skin receptor cell type that detects vibration. The sequence of excitatory events for the corpuscle is: Number 1. Mechanical stimulation deforms the corpuscle. Number 2. Deformation of the corpuscle stretches the tip of the axon. Number 3. Stretching the axon opens mechanically gated ion channels in the membrane, allowing positively charged ions to enter. 4. When the receptor potential reaches threshold amplitude, the axon produces one or more action potentials. Coding is the rules by which action potentials in a sensory system reflect a physical stimulus. Sensory information is encoded by features such as the number and frequency of the action potentials and the rhythm in which clusters of action potentials occur. This is because each action potential is always the same size and duration. Intensity of a stimulus can be represented by frequency of action potentials transmitted, but they can only fire so fast. As the strength of the stimulus increases, new neurons are recruited. Thus, intensity of a stimulus can be represented by the number of active cells. Range fractionation is a hypothesis of stimulus intensity perception, stating that a wide range of intensity values can be encoded by a group of cells, each of which is a specialist for a particular range of stimulus intensities. This requires an array of receptors and neurons that differ in threshold to fire. The position of a stimulus, either outside or inside the body, is relevant to which receptors are stimulated and the relative arrival of the stimulus in bilateral receptor systems. Adaptation here means the progressive loss of receptor sensitivity as stimulation is maintained. A tonic receptor is a receptor in which the frequency of action potentials declines slowly or not at all as stimulation is maintained. A phasic receptor is a receptor in which the frequency of action potentials drops rapidly as stimulation is maintained. Sensory systems emphasize change in stimuli because changes are more likely to be significant for survival.